First round of the playoffs are here this weekend. We got Miami, Texas A&M, big matchup down in College Station. Texas A&M looking to get their first playoff win here in the 12-team playoff and advance to play Ohio State. Miami kind of in unexpectedly to that 10 spot, having a good season in the ACC. Now they're here against each other. I love cross-conference games. I think it provides so many interesting matchups because the two different type of ball being played in different conferences. And we got a really interesting one here at noon on Saturday. Randall, what do you think?
Man, I'm super excited for this game. I'm going to the Kentucky St. John's basketball game in Atlanta, but I'm going to have this one on my phone. This is going to be, I think, the best game of the weekend. Miami coming in, making their way into the playoffs. Texas A&M, you got another chance of life. You lost to Texas, but you know what? You had a great 11-1 season. This is going to be a game of the trenches. Ruben Bain, Cassius Howell, two O-lines that are incredible. And I'll have some stats around that, but I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good spot to start, honestly, is the trenches for this game. That's the key here. And to me, it's, Miami at the tackle position has been phenomenal. Now, Agoa, Bell, they've kept Carson Beck extremely clean, one of the least sacked, least pressured quarterbacks in the nation. And I think that's played a good role into him being less turnover heavy this year than he was in years past. He's had a lot more time to make those plays. Flip side, you got A&M, Cassius Howell, and you can talk about them. I mean, Texas A&M's tied for first in the nation in sacks per game. So one team isn't going to get to play their game here. It's either going to be A&M not being able to get sacks, or they're going to be able to get sacks, and it's going to be Miami not being able to keep Carson Beck clean. Someone's going to lose here.
Someone's going to lose here, right? You talked about it for Miami. They're 9th in the country when it comes to sacks allowed. They've only allowed 11 sacks in the season. We've seen, like you said, when Carson Beck is in the face of pressure, that's where he struggles. For A&M, 41 sacks on the season. Cassius Howell has 11.5 sacks. That's 4th in the country. A&M has 16 players contributing to that 41 sack number. 16 guys, safeties, linebackers. Yeah. Defensive ends. I mean, it's a very mean defense.
Yeah, it's one of the things that Elko does well in bringing those additional guys down. We've seen it with Damian Sanford. We've seen Tarin York even shoot the gap in a couple games there. It'll be fun to watch and see how Miami tries to alleviate this, because Texas doing really well off the edge. That's where those tackles are going to really hold it up. How does A&M bring that pressure down the middle, finding the gap, looping blitzes, getting that pressure there? But you can't leave too much open, because Miami also has really good weapons. They got great receivers, Malachi Toney being a big one.
Yep.
Now flip, we can flip it, but Texas A&M also has pretty good O-line, but it's going to have a tough time trying to stop Ruben Bain and company.
Yeah, and it made me want to look at the competition and kind of who they've played. Right now for this O-line for Texas A&M, they've only given up 12 sacks in the season. So Miami was 11, A&M's 12. That puts them first in the SEC in terms of sacks allowed. Ole Miss is second, Georgia's third. Those are 3 playoff teams. You win in the trenches. It also helps that those 3 schools, Georgia and Ole Miss, have mobile quarterbacks. And Marcel Reed, obviously, I would say, is one of the best mobile quarterbacks of those 3. And he's able to evade and create space to avoid sacks, to be able to turn a negative play into a positive play. But both of these D lines, like you mentioned, have proven they can create pressure. Even Damon Hayes for Texas A&M alongside Cassius Howell, both of those guys, I think he's got 3 sacks in the season, are able to create a lot of pressure. And so if you can control the O-line, then it comes down to the running back play. Miami, you got Mark Fletcher, they got Gerard as well. And on the other side, we still don't know if Le'Veon Moss is coming back in this game, but we saw Ruben Owens play against Texas, and we saw Marcel Reed be the leading rusher for the team against Texas. So thoughts on the running back comparison, the overall rushing attack comparison?
Yeah, and Elko's being a little bit not committal and saying, they asked him, about Le'Veon Moss, Anderson, Scooby Williams, and he's like, oh, they're good, they're great. I mean, I don't know if that's an indicator that they're going to play, or if he's like, oh, they're doing well, they're whatever it may be. But having those guys back would be huge. But if not, running the ball is going to be important. It keeps teams honest, continues to move the chains, opens up the field for Marcel Reed. I want to see A&M be able to run the ball effectively here, because I don't think with the pass rush you're going to be able to be a primarily passing team. You're going to have to run the ball well, because you have Ruben Bain on one side, but that's only one side. You gotta, you're worried about Akeem Mesidor on the other side. It's
first team all ACC as well. I mean, he's 23 tackles, 4.5 sacks. I mean, he is like, we talked a lot about Walter Nolan last year. I'm not saying he's Walter Nolan, but like he's a beast.
Yeah,
he's absolutely a beast. And Miami has the number 1 rushing defense in the ACC, 7th overall in the country, 88.4. But when you double click into that stat, they played in terms of best competition. So Notre Dame, they allowed 33 rushing yards from Jeremiah Love. When they played Louisville and they lost, Isaac Brown, 113 yards on 15 carries. Louisville controlled the time of possession. That to me is the number 1 key in this game for A&M. If you can establish a run like Louisville did against Miami, they will have a shot to win this game.
Yeah, and they caught Notre Dame. I mean, this is the talking head thing about how if they played again today, I think they caught Notre Dame, especially from a running standpoint, on a bad day early in the season before they had really ironed out some wrinkles. So I don't know if that one's like super indicative. I think the Louisville game is a good one to look at too for, being able to run against this team. Now, A&M defense needs to be a little bit more, a little bit better about stopping the run themselves. We saw that be a critical factor in the Texas game. You gotta be able to get off the field. You can't have long drives that makes for bigger breakdowns. And you got guys like Malachi Tony who can throw the ball too. You got CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion on the Miami side. So running is absolutely a big factor in this game from both sides.
Definitely. Well, when we talk about Miami, before the season started, it was all about like adding Carson Beck. And we haven't talked about Carson Beck too much in this preview. This quarterback matchup is going to be awesome. Carson Beck, third team all ACC, 15th in the country in touchdowns with 25, 20th in the country in passing yards, 11th in the country QBR. People kind of critique the ACC competition, but when his lowest PFF games, Louisville 55.2, Florida 57.1, 4 picks against Louisville, right? Syracuse 59.1. The main factor I think that played in those poor PFF grade games and his poor performance was pressure. 11 pressures from Louisville, 6 pressures from Florida, 7 pressures from Syracuse. They won 2 of the 3, but the 11 pressures from Louisville and that loss tells me a lot.
Yeah. And not all the picks were his fault, but it causes you to kind of throw into maybe some errant situations where the receiver's in a position to where if he does drop it, it's a pick. Pressure is important. I mean, it's something, if you haven't seen it a lot all season, when it does happen, oh shit, what do I do here?
Right.
And that's what I think could happen in this game if Texas A&M can apply some of that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an extremely important game to call out. It is about that pressure, the 11 in the Louisville game, the SMU game. So we'll see what A&M could do to try to get some guys back there.
Definitely. Any other keys you have for Texas A&M?
For A&M, we got the things are going to change from a play calling standpoint. Colin Klein accepting a different job, but going to continue to coach here through the playoff and, split time. What I'm looking at for Marcel Reed, because it's no secret, if you watch a lot of A&M games, there's been some areas of opportunity, some times where maybe he's thrown some errant passes, some accuracy issues, some decision-making issues. It's not perfectly clean across the board. And, you're playing a team here like Miami loves to play zone defense, a lot of zone defense. About 60-70% of the time they're playing zone, which doesn't bode too well for A&M. It's one of the more, one of the things that causes Reed to have to make some quicker, thoughts and adjustments and things like that. Where there's opportunity, when Miami brings these heavy blitz packages, they go to man. I wanted to pull up a play here in the Louisville game where they send 6, they jump into man, it goes for a touchdown because he hits a guy on a drag, where he has that separation. No one is going to be able to get separation better in man coverage than these extremely speedy receivers that A&M has. Craver across the middle, Casey Concepcion, making plays out wide. If you try to go man and bring pressure, and Marcel Reed beats that pressure and gets the ball out sooner, those can go house for A&M.
Yeah.
So I want to keep an eye on that, is how Miami can then bring that heat while still not being vulnerable in man.
Yeah, and you've talked about, the percentage of the yards that these receivers have contributed for Marcel Reed, and then what percentage of those yards have come off of Yak as well.
Yeah, I think it's like 31%, I think is what it was, 32% of the yards that they've got of Marcel Reed's yards has come yards after catch just from these two guys. And now you're looking, Ashton Bethel Roman has really stepped into his own late in the season and has been another extremely good weapon here who can get downfield, but also make plays after the catch. So that's what I'm thinking about here for Miami. They have great corners. They can, plug up some gaps. They can play good zone coverage if they get stuck in man because they're bringing that heat. What does the play calling do when they look at the tape? How does Marcel Reed make some of those adjustments to get the ball out sooner? I'm keeping an eye on that. And if we get a good game from Marcel Reed here, I think that they win no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my final key is getting a good game from Marcel Reed. We've talked about the defenses. We've talked about I feel like we under-indexed on how good Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver are, but if you've been watching our channel, we've been talking about them all season, published a video of the top players on their team as well. But with Marcel Reed, just underappreciated, 15th right now in the country when it comes to touchdowns. He's only had 3 games under 180 or less passing yards, and it was Texas, it was Mississippi State, and it was Samford. And they beat Samford, obviously. The Texas game, second best rushing performance. I think it's an anomaly from a passing yard perspective. He's been playing lights out. I mean, over 200 plus yards for the other 8 games this season. If he can get in that 200 passing yard club, I don't think he even needs 60 plus rushing yards. Just airing it out, having his guys have their way with Ashel Bethel Roman, like you mentioned, and Craver and Concepcion. It's almost a guarantee win when he's over 200 passing yards.
Yeah. I mean, when he's playing well, they're unstoppable because he can do so much. He's, good throwing deep when he has a good game. He's good at throwing short when he has a good game. He's good at getting out of the pocket and rolling out when he has a good game. We've seen the South Carolina first half and things like that where it hasn't been his best performance. If you're A&M, you don't want to see that here. You want to see him come out hot. Another thing to watch in this game before doing some score predictions, they're 2 of the most penalized teams in the country, these 2. They've had some issues with penalties, and it's put them in bad situations. I think A&M Auburn game being one of those. Which team comes in here more ready? I'm going to take that into consideration when I pick here because A&M playing at home, not that they're going to get any special calls, but you have to worry less about the crowd noise. You got to worry less about that environment getting to you. I think the penalties for Miami maybe stack up a little bit here. Score prediction, I think A&M wins 27-16.
Okay. I like it. Most expensive ticket right now in the first round of the college football playoff. No surprise. Aggies always show up for their squad. I like Texas A&M in this one. I'm going to say 28-21. I think both teams are able to score. We see a little bit more pressure. These teams feel each other out. But I do like Texas A&M in this one, 28-21, to advance to the next round in the Cotton Bowl.
That would be against Ohio State. It doesn't get any easier, but it's just one step. I mean, it's you got to go on a 4-game run here. This would be the first one, for Texas A&M, obviously. First game on Saturday this weekend. A&M fans, Miami fans, if you're tuning in, let us know what you think about this. We did publish a video, like Randall mentioned, about Texas A&M's highest graded players. Click on that one. Take a look. Let us know what you think there. Be sure to subscribe because we're going to continue to make A&M content around your favorite teams as the playoffs continue and as we get ready for the offseason. As always, I'm Hunter Ziesman, joined here with Randall Ledet Jr., New S podcast, and until next time.